the Commission gives you an opportunity to deal with all evidence that or allegations that may have been made against you or your board in the Commission, so as to ensure that I have before me, when I prepare the report, your version as well, not just what they have to say against you, but also your version and your perspectives. The Commission also gives you the platform in responding to questions that are being asked to inform the public of your side of the story in relation to whatever may have been said against you, about you, by witnesses who have come to the Commission. But the Commission recognizes that you have a privilege not to incriminate yourself, and where you invoke that privilege and there are reasonable grounds for its invocation, the Commission will not compel you to answer questions. But also, it's going to be important that when a question has been asked, you make up your mind whether you are going to invoke the privilege not to answer the question, and on the basis that answering the question might lead to you incriminating yourself, or whether you are going to answer the question. You can't have it both ways. You can't give some answer and then later say, no, I'm invoking the privilege. So where you are going to answer, you answer, but where you invoke the privilege, you invoke it, and that's it. If at some stage I might seek to inquire whether there are reasonable grounds to invoke it, and as I said 2 days ago, there may be cases where I compel you to answer, but I will not do so unless I think that there are no proper grounds to invoke the privilege. So I just wanted to remind you again, particularly because as things presently stand, this is the last day when you are appearing, to say it's an opportunity you have to respond to questions and deal with whatever different witnesses may have said about you or your board, but where you choose to not to answer on the basis of invoking the privilege, then that will be respected if there are reasonable grounds for invoking it. But it's an opportunity that you decide whether to use or not. But as I said also yesterday, when I prepare the report and I have to make findings, it's not as if just because you invoked the privilege, I can't make findings. All it would mean is simply that the evidence I have on which I can make findings would be of those witnesses who have given evidence, and some of them may have given evidence against you. And if I don't have your version, I make findings based only on the versions I have. So I thought that I must just explain that once again, but where you invoke your privilege and there are reasonable grounds, or we have no grounds to think there are no grounds to do so, that will be respected.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right, thank you. Ms. Hoffmeyer?
Thank you, Chief.
And the oath you took 2 days ago will continue to apply, Ms. Myeni? Okay, all right.
I'm just worried, Ms. Myeni, you seem to speak there and we couldn't hear you. Could you say something again just so we can check that you're audible?
Say Chairperson.
Chairperson.
Ah, excellent.
Okay, all right.
Thank
Okay,
you.
all right.
Thank you. Ms. Myeni, I'd like to begin this morning by focusing on Bosasa. We looked yesterday in the concluding part of the day at Mhlathu's and the allegations that have been made against you there in relation to Mr. X's evidence. And now I'd like to spend some time focusing on the evidence related to Bosasa. Ms. Myeni, how well did you know Mr. Watson?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
And Ms. Myeni, how well did you know Mr. Agreezy?
May I please, Chairperson, not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Had you ever met with him?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Mr. Agreezy gave evidence about a very particular meeting that he alleges he had with you at the Sheraton Hotel on the 23rd of September 2015. Can you confirm whether you were at that meeting?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
And there's another meeting that you are alleged to have held with him at the Intercontinental Hotel at the airport about 2 months later in 2015. Did you attend that meeting?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, Mr. Agreezy testified before this commission about your involvement in serious acts of corruption on his version. And you, in fact, responded to his evidence in an affidavit that you prepared in March of 2019. It's the affidavit that we looked at briefly yesterday. So what I would like to do in the course of this morning is take you to aspects of that affidavit and give you an opportunity if you need to clarify or correct anything in that affidavit as we go through the various allegations that Mr. Agreezy and others have made against you in connection with Bosasa. So I'd like to just summarize the nub of Mr. Agreezy's allegations, if I may, and then what I will do is I'll unpack each of them with you. Ms. Myeni, Mr. Agreezy testified before this commission that Bosasa had paid you money and other benefits as a bribe. And one of those other benefits was an elaborate security installation done at your home. So I'm going to call that the sort of general bribe allegation. The second allegation was that Bosasa gave you money in order for you to hand it over to former President Zuma. I'm going to call that the conduit allegation. There was also evidence from Mr. Agreezy that you had facilitated meetings with the former president for Bosasa in order to advance their interests, and I'm going to call that the facilitation allegation. Ms. Myeni, I must just pause there. There has also been another allegation, not connected per se with Bosasa, but in relation to Eskom evidence, that you facilitated another meeting at which the suspension of the Eskom executives was dealt with. Now, that aspect of the evidence before the Commission is going to be dealt with by my learned friend, Mr. Pule Seleka, in questioning you, because that is an area of the Commission's investigations in respect of which he leads the investigation. So I won't be touching on that one today. I'm going to touch on the allegations that come from Mr. Agreezy's evidence, which had to do with Karoo fracking and Bosasa's sites in that area. And then the fourth main allegation, Ms. Myeni, is that you obtained confidential police documents concerning the investigation into Bosasa, and that you'd provided those documents to Mr. Watson and Mr. Agreezy in September 2015 at that meeting, which I asked you about moments ago, on the 23rd of September 2015, according to Mr. Agreezy. So what I'll do now is I'll explore each of those with you. I want to pick up on the meetings first. Now, Mr. Agreezy alleged that you used to assist Bosasa generally with coordinating meetings with former President Zuma, and that there was a particular matter that Bosasa was interested in, and it related to fracking. Now I'd like to take you to your affidavit that you deposed to on the 4th of March 2019, so that we can look there at your response to that allegation. Ms. Myeni, you'll find it in your evidence bundle, DD 34B, and we should pick it up at page 1081. For your convenience, that is under tab 9.
The affidavit starts at 1080, isn't it?
Correct, Chair.
Yes.
And I didn't actually take us there yesterday. I made reference to it. So this is actually the first time that we are going to it.
Okay.
So it may be convenient to enter it into the record, if I may suggest to follow the indexing as DD 34B.9.
Yes, I have it, Chairperson.
Thank you. I'll admit it after she has confirmed her signature in the contents,
Yes.
Ms. Hofmeyer.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Myeni, if you'll go to page 1083, you'll see a signature there. Can you confirm that that's your signature?
Yes, that's my signature.
And can you confirm that this is your affidavit and that the contents of it are true and correct?
Sorry, I didn't get that one.
I was just asking you to confirm that the contents of that affidavit that bears your signature are true and correct.
The Chairperson, let me read this because the allegations, I don't have a list of allegations with me of Agreezy.
Yeah. Yes, okay. Well, Ms. Hofmeyer was just seeking your confirmation that the contents of your affidavit are, to the best of your knowledge and belief, true and correct, without asking about Agreezy, just to...
The contents of the contents of this statement, as I was legally advised, is correct.
Okay, all right. The affidavit by Ms. Duduzile Myeni, starting at page 1080, is admitted as Exhibit DD 34B.9. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Myeni, and if we could then go to page 1081, at which you'll find paragraph 8 of your affidavit. Do you have that?
Yes, I do. Thanks, Chairperson.
What you say at paragraph 8 is, this is disingenuous for Mr. Agreezy to allege that I had an influence over former President Jacob Zuma to effect certain amendments to regulations which are required to facilitate the Karoo fracking. I vehemently deny these allegations. The meeting did in fact take place in Nkandla. There was no alleged bag of cash that was handed over to the President, and that statement is denied. Ms. Myeni, as I understand this paragraph, you are confirming here that at least one meeting did take place at Nkandla involving Mr. Agreezy. Is that correct?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
And then, Ms. Myeni, if you go over the page to page 1082, you deal with other meetings. You see, at the top of that page at paragraph 9, you say, I deny that I coordinated a meeting between former President Zuma, Mr. Watson, Mr. O'Quigley, and Ms. Oberholzer. Do you confirm that you did not set up a meeting between those 4 people in relation to Karoo fracking?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, Ms. Oberholzer has provided an affidavit to this commission in which she says that you did set up that very meeting that Mr. Agreezy testified about. Is she giving false evidence before this commission when she says that?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
I'd like to take you to her affidavit, and you will find that at page 1444 of the same bundle, DD34B. Sorry, let me give you the starting page. It commences at page 1433.
I have it, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chairperson. This is the first time that we are dealing with Ms. Oberholzer's affidavit. Chair, if I may suggest that we enter it into the exhibit, again in accordance with the index, as Exhibit DD 34B.15.15. And this is an affidavit that Ms. Oberholzer deposed to. You'll find at page 1447 on the 22nd of October, 2020.
Just one sec. Is it DD 34B.15?
Correct, Chair.
Okay. The affidavit of Ms. Liesel Oberholzer, starting at page 1433, will be admitted as Exhibit DD 34B.15.
Thank you, Chair. Now, Ms. Myeni, what Ms. Oberholzer says in this detailed affidavit, amongst other things, is that you did coordinate a meeting between herself and the former president and Mr. Watson and Mr. O'Quigley. And she says that that took place and that you set that meeting up. Do you recall doing that?
Chairperson, may I not respond so that I don't incriminate myself?
She was very specific about the date of that meeting. She said that it took place on the 27th of July, 2014. Do you recall that?
Chairperson, may I not respond so that I don't incriminate myself?
Because your affidavit evidence before this commission is that you deny having set up this very meeting. And so, in a sense, what the commission has before it is your denial on the one hand, and Mr. Agreezy and Ms. Oberholzer's evidence before this commission that says you did set it up. That's why it's quite important in due course for this commission to be able to make a determination between those two versions. Do you accept that if one side of that debate had some documentary proof that the meeting was coordinated by you, it might tilt the balance in favor of their version?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
You see, what Ms. Oberholzer says about this meeting appears at page 1444 of DD 34B.15. So I'd like to take you there. page 1444 at paragraph 38. Ms. Myeni, you'll see on that page there's a heading in bold, Nkandla, 27 July 2014. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
And at paragraph 38, this is what Ms. Oberholzer says. She says, on this date, a second meeting was held with President Zuma at his home in Nkandla. Can I just pause there to contextualize where she is in the affidavit? She's dealt prior to this point in the affidavit with the first meeting, which I understand from your paragraph 8 of your affidavit, you don't dispute having taken place. So on that aspect, you and she are in agreement. But on this meeting, because this is the one at which Mr. Quigley, yourself, former President Zuma, Mr. Watson were present, you say on your affidavit before this commission it didn't take place. So I just wanted to give you that context for where we are. Okay, paragraph 38, she says the following. On this date, a second meeting was held with President Zuma at his home in Nkandla. Present at the meeting with me were Mr. Quigley, Ms. Myeni, Mr. Gavin Watson, and President Zuma. I understand that Ms. Myeni had arranged the meeting with the President. The arrangements were made by email between Mr. O'Quigley and Mr. Gavin Watson, in which I was copied. The suggestion that I attend this meeting came from Mr. O'Quigley via a telephone call. I attach marked Annexure L01 an email chain which was forwarded to me. The email chain starting on 20 July 2014. The email from Ms. Myeni to Mr. Gavin Watson is dated 20 July 2014 at 11:58 in the morning and 52 seconds. It will be noted that Ms. Myeni advises that I'm trying to set up a meeting for the 27th. It is for this reason that I have assumed that Ms. Myeni arranged the meeting. I'd like to take us to that email, if we may go there, and you'll find that at page 1448. Do you have that?
I see the email, yes.
So you need to start, as one often does, with email.
Yes, Chairperson, I have the email.
Thank you. So you have to start this email at the bottom of the page, as you often have to do with email chains. And what you'll see in the second half of the email is in bold the start of an email that says from Dudu M, with a email address there, dudumyeni@telcomsa.net. Can you confirm that that was an email address you were using in July of 2014?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
The date of the email is 20 July 2014, and the subject is forward, addressed by President Jacob Zuma at the launch of Operation Phakisa Big Fast Results Implementation Methodology. And then I'd like to read into the record what appears then in the body of the email. It reads, for my Nkokeli, could you translate what Nkokeli means? Ms. Myeni, can you hear us?
Sorry, I can hear. Sorry, I was checking where the Nkokeli is.
Oh, sorry. So it's in the body of the email.
I can see on the email.
Yes. What does Nkokeli mean?
That was the word that was used by Mr. Watson.
Because you're addressing him here, so could you translate it for us into English? What meaning does it have for you in English?
I'm not sure. It appears to be a Xhosa word.
Okay, but you were using it in this email, so what did you mean by it?
Can I not respond to this question, Chairperson? I don't want to incriminate myself.
And the email reads as follows. For my Nkokeli, I hope you are well. By God's grace, we are all well. I had to get this speech of the launch of yesterday's event because I felt you have to know what the event or launch was about. Please be assured all is under control. I am trying to set up a meeting for the 27th. You see, it's that last, and then it says regards. It's that last sentence of that email where you say, I am trying to set up a meeting for the 27th, that forms the basis for Ms. Oberholzer's evidence before this commission that you did set up this meeting. You have denied that on affidavit, but I want to put to you that this is pretty clear in its terms that you are setting up a meeting. Do you have a response to that?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Let's just continue with the email because then you'll see how it gets to Ms. Oberholzer. You have to now go up from the bottom. So above your email is the email that Mr. Gavin Watson appears to have forwarded a bit later on that same day, the 20th of July 2014, at 16:11 in the afternoon. What this records is Gavin Watson, using a particular Gmail address, wrote, and I'm quoting, "Please see the email I received and who attended the meeting. We can discuss this further when we meet again. Regards, Gavin Watson." And if you go above that, you see how the email reached Ms. Oberholzer, because it is there's then at the top of the page an email from Mr. O'Quigley, dated the 20th of July 2014, that much later in the day at 8:06 in the evening. And he sends to Mr. Watson, Mr. Agreezy, Roth Watson, and Lizelle Oberholzer, who is Ms. Oberholzer. He sends that email chain to all of them, and his email reads, "So hopefully we are set up for the meeting to take place on the 27th. I'm booked on a flight to LHR on the 24th, but will change as soon as you confirm the meeting is going ahead. Kind regards, Philip." Ms. Myeni, in the face of that documentary indication that you did in fact set up this meeting, do you want to reconsider your evidence under oath on affidavit before this commission that you didn't do so?
It looks like there may be some technical problem.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Ms. Myeni?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question?
Okay.
I can hear you, Chairperson.
Okay, all right. Ms. Hofmeyer?
Ms. Myeni, I understand you to have declined to answer that question on the basis that it may tend to incriminate you. Is that correct?
My response is that, may I please invoke the privilege of not answering the question in case I incriminate myself?
Thank you. I'd now like to move to the allegation of cash having been provided to you from time to time by Bosasa representatives. Mr. Agreezy's evidence was that Mr. Watson had told him that he was giving you 300,000 Rand a month for the president and that it was being paid to the Jacob Zuma Foundation. Chair, just for record purposes, Mr. Agreezy dealt with that in the transcript of the evidence on the 28th of January 2019, page 52, lines 4 to 8. Ms. Myeni, are you aware of that allegation? No, Ms. Myeni, sorry, that's just a reference to the transcript. It's not in your documents. It's the transcript of his evidence on the day, and I'm just recording that for record purposes. We don't need to go to it. You are no doubt aware of Mr. Agreezy's evidence because you provided an affidavit to the Commission responding to it. What I'd like to just confirm is that you were aware of the specific allegation that Mr. Watson told Mr. Agreezy that Mr. Watson was giving you 300,000 Rand a month for the president and that it was being paid to the Jacob Zuma Foundation. Are you aware that that allegation was made against you?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Now, that allegation was another one of the allegations that you took up in your affidavit. So I'd like to go back to your affidavit, if we may. You'll find the relevant paragraph at page 1081 of the bundle we're in at the moment, which is DD 34B.
Sorry, it's page
1081.
1081.
Yes, I have it, Chairperson.
Now, there's one paragraph, two paragraphs here where you deal with this 300,000 Rand that was alleged to have been given to you. At paragraph 4, you say, I further deny that I received 300,000 Rand per month from the Bosasa Group. And then if you jump down to paragraph 6, you also say there, I do not possess a Louis Vuitton handbag, which was allegedly filled with cash to the amount of 300,000 Rand. No such amount of money was ever given to me, as alleged. Ms. Myeni, when I read those two paragraphs together, I understand you to be conveying that you did not receive money from the Bosasa Group, which found its way into the foundation in due course. I mean, I think your denial is even broader. You're saying no cash, but I want to focus particularly on the allegation of Mr. Agreezy that Mr. Watson told him that he was giving it to you and then that it was finding its way into the Jacob Zuma Foundation. Do you deny that you received money from Bosasa and put it into the Jacob Zuma Foundation?
Chairperson, may I not respond to this question because I don't want to incriminate myself.
Now, what we did manage to traverse a little bit in your evidence yesterday was that there were on occasion cash deposits made to the Jacob Zuma Foundation. Do you recall giving that evidence yesterday?
I recall that I said that yesterday, indeed.
Thank you.
There was context.
And what I was seeking to probe with you yesterday was, it's not easy to identify on cash deposit slips. Indeed, sometimes I would suggest it's impossible to identify who the depositor is on a cash deposit slip. Do you accept that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Because I put it to you that if it's not possible to identify who the depositor is, if all you've got is a cash deposit slip, then it is possible that Bosasa was depositing cash into the account of the Jacob Zuma Foundation, provided there is evidence of cash deposit slips. Do you accept that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Did you yourself, Ms. Myeni, ever take cash and deposit it in the foundation's bank account?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Do you remember taking amounts as great as 50,000 Rand and 100,000 Rand and depositing those amounts as cash in the Jacob Zuma Foundation bank account?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
See, because the Commission has managed to find numerous deposit slips of amounts in those large quantities, which appear from signatures on those cash slips to have been deposited by you. So I would like to take you to those cash slips, if I may. I'd like to start at the one that appears in the same bundle that you're in at the moment, DD 34B, and I'd like to look at the one appearing at page 1476, 1476. Do you have that page?
I have it, Chairperson. Yes.
Ms. Myeni, you have helpfully assisted us on 2 occasions before this commission in confirming that a signature that appears on a particular page is your signature. You did it yesterday when you confirmed that the letter you sent in response to the complaints from your co-board members in 2014 was your signature. And you did it moments ago when you confirmed your signature on the affidavit that you presented to the Commission in March of 2019. So I'm hoping you'll be able to assist us with the signatures that appear on these deposit slips. You'll see a signature on this deposit slip at page 1476. Can you confirm that that is your signature? Actually, it appears twice at the bottom of the page. Do you see that?
Chairperson, may I invoke the privilege of not responding to this question?
And then if you
The reason is that each question follows another question.
And if we go over to page 1478, there is another signature on that page on a deposit slip. Can you confirm whether that is your signature?
May I not respond to the question, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Before I go to others that we have with your signature, it's probably appropriate to just have recorded what the amounts of each of these deposit slips was. Let's go back to the deposit slip at page 1476. Ms. Myeni, it's sometimes difficult to see the numbering on the deposit slip. It took me, I must be honest, some time to work out how these deposit slips record the amounts. But let me try and help you. If you go to the top of the deposit slip, you'll see there's an emblem ABSA and on the left-hand side an emblem for Barclays. And then below that you have a date, 8 December 2014, and there's a time. It looks like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and 2 seconds. Then it says CC, and then you'll see there 50,000.00. So that is an indication that this is a deposit of 50,000 Rand. And what's then interesting, if you go just a bit further down, there's Jacob Zuma Foundation, NPC. There's reference number donation dash, I can't quite make that out, SAS maybe. And then there is a, do you see a 100 there? And then you'll see rands and then 000,050,000.00. So that, as I understand it, is indicating that the 50,000 Rand came in 100 Rand notes. If you had been depositing this, could you confirm for us that you took 50,000 Rands worth of 100 Rand notes and deposited it in the Foundation's bank account on the 8th of December 2014?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question? I don't want to incriminate myself.
And then if we go to the one that also bears a signature with quite a striking resemblance to the signatures that you have confirmed before the Commission in your evidence, that's at page 1478. You'll see there that that deposit slip is dated the 3rd of November 2016. that is under the emblem of ABSA at the top of the deposit slip. Do you see that?
Yes, I see the deposit slip, ma'am.
Thank you. And then what that tells us is that on this occasion, 100,000 Rand was deposited. And if you go further down and follow the logic of the previous deposit slip, it was 20,000 Rand in 200 Rand notes and 80,000 Rand in 100 Rand notes. Do you recall taking 20,000 Rand in 200 Rand notes and 80,000 Rand in 100 Rand notes and depositing them into the Jacob Zuma Foundation on the 3rd of November 2016?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, in this section of your bundle, there are a number of deposit slips. Not all of them bear what appears to be your signature. Some of them bear signatures the Commission has not been able to identify. Some of them give a description, like the one that I referenced a moment ago, donation SAS. Others bear no description at all. I'll give you other than donation. So I'll give you an example of one of those. If we go to page 1482, do you have that?
Yes, Chairperson.
You see that one?
I have it, Chair.
If you look at that one, it just says after the date, which it looks like is 16 September 2017. Chair, if I can just pause there, we did try to do the best copying we could, but these are old deposit slips. I mean, they're the original. So this was the best that we could do for the purposes of the bundle. It's the actual deposit slips, as I understand it, are in the possession of the Commission. But let's just look at this one. You see, this one has a date. It looks like maybe 14 or 16 September 2017. And there it just says Jacob Zuma Foundation NPC reference number donation. So on the first one, we got donation SAS. Here we get nothing. Unlike electronic transfers, you just don't know who's making this deposit unless you can identify the signature. Ms. Myeni, there's just one other of the deposit slips bearing your signature that I'd like to take you to, and that's at 1488.
Yes, Chairperson, I have it.
I'll take you to this one because it's amongst some of the clearest of the signatures that appear on that page. Can you confirm that that is your signature at page 1488?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
You'll see, Ms. Myeni, that this is a deposit that was made on the 6th of February 2016, and it's in the amount of 100,000 Rand. And it appears on this occasion, the 100,000 Rand was made up of 200 Rand notes. Ms. Myeni, if you did indeed deposit these large cash amounts, can you assist the Commission as to where you got these large cash amounts from to deposit them into the Jacob Zuma Foundation bank account?
Myself.
I'm sorry, we didn't hear the whole sentence, Ms. Myeni.
Yes, thanks, Chairperson. May I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself, Chairperson?
Okay.
Ms. Myeni, I must put it to you that the discovery of these cash deposit slips, bearing what on the face looks like your signature, lends credence to Mr. Agreezy's version, potentially, that you were depositing cash which you received from Bosasa into the Jacob Zuma Foundation bank account. What is your response to that?
May I invoke the privilege, Chairperson, that I don't respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, in fairness to you, I must record that the Commission has not found regular deposit slips amounting to 300,000 Rand cash, bearing your signature each month. But what it has found is these deposit slips, which appear in your evidence bundle. I haven't taken you to all of them, but they are large amounts of cash deposited by you and without explanation, given the approach that you're taking to your evidence today. Are you sure that you do not want to give this commission an explanation for those deposits of large cash amounts?
Chairperson, with respect, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, I'd now like to move off cash and go to travel benefits.
I know you said, Ms. Hofmeyer, you didn't take her to all of them. I see there's one at page 1490 that has a signature that seems to be her signature.
Indeed, Chair, indeed. We could maybe ask Ms. Myeni again if she could confirm that signature. That would be useful.
Yes.
Ms. Myeni, if you could go to page 1490. Do you have that?
Yes, I do.
That appears to be a deposit also on the 6th of February 2016. We looked at another one for the state a moment ago, this time in the amount of 50,000 Rand, made up of 100 Rand notes, and there's a signature at the bottom of that page. Can you confirm whether that's your signature?
Chairperson, may I not respond to this question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Thank you. Chair, with your leave, I'll then move to the travel benefits,
Yes.
if I may.
Yeah.
So, the evidence of Mr. Agreezy and others has not been confined to cash benefits that Bosasa was alleged to have given to you, with some expectation that it would find its way to the foundation. But there are also travel benefits that you are alleged to have benefited from. So I'd like to deal with those. The allegations are those that come from an entity called Blake's Travel. And the allegation is that you received a number of travel and accommodation benefits through Blake's Travel that were paid for by Bosasa. Can you confirm that you received those benefits?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Now, Mr. Agreezy's evidence before the Commission on this aspect, Chair, can be found both in his affidavit, which I'm not suggesting we need to go to. This is, again, just for record purposes. Ms. Myeni is well aware of these allegations. She's responded to them on affidavit. But just for record purposes, it's Mr. Agreezy's affidavit, Exhibit AA at page 65, paragraph 30.1. And he also then addressed it in the transcript of evidence on the 22nd of January 2015, page 156, lines 5 to 10. So what Mr. Agreezy says in his affidavit and in testimony before this commission is that Bosasa used Blake's Travel to facilitate arrangement for various government officials and other persons that they regarded to have influence. And that evidence was then corroborated by Mr. Brian Blake, who is an employee of Blake's Travel. He also testified before this commission, and his evidence is to be found in Exhibit T, that's T for tomato 18. Ms. Myeni, that should be amongst the bundles that you have with you. We've, until this point, I think, only been dealing with your bundle, but I'm now going to want to take you to T18. So can you look for bundle T18 amongst the mountain of files that you have? And Chair, yours will be provided to you.
T80, I take it, will be written on the spine of the file.
It will indeed.
For the benefit of Ms. Myeni. So look at the spine of your files and look for one that's written T80.
Ms. Myeni, if you'll just alert us to when you have the file, and we'll start with it at page 70.
Her picture is off the screen, but she may be hearing us.
I think that's right. I think she's gone off video so that she can move around and
Yeah.
find it.
Okay.
So if we can just give Ms. Myeni a moment. Thank you, Chair.
Chairperson, sorry, Chair.
Yes,
All my files are Exhibit DD.
there is no TAT.
There is no TAT. All of them, they are DD, and then they have A, B, C, or Exhibit DD 11,
Yes.
DD 9, DD 8, DD 14, 13, 12, and so on. There is
could
no
it-
TT.
Could it be that her attorney might have it? Do we know?
It's possible. These, you see, the DD series, Chair, the 55 files that are assembled behind me are the aviation files.
Yes.
The other ones, and they are usually kept together, the other ones where I have to go to other work streams.
streams, yeah.
So this is a T file. Now, this, Ms. Myeni, these two files, I'm going to take you to T18, and later I'm going to take you to T21, didn't come with the first shipment of files. They came later on your first day of evidence, as I understand the arrangements. So might it be that your attorney put them somewhere else?
May-
Can I check, because my attorney's representative is here, who
Yes.
brought the first shipment? Let me just quickly hear if we have them or not, or we can maybe continue without the files.
Yeah.
Yes. Look, the purpose of the files is to take you to certain
Chairperson, with your-
invoices.
Yes, maybe we should take an adjournment.
I think so, Chair.
Maybe we take an adjournment to enable Ms. Myeni to talk to his attorney or the representative of his attorney to establish whether they've got the file.
Yes, Chairperson.
Yes, let's make it the tea break.
Yes,
I
Chair.
see it's 11.
Well,
Oh,
it's
it is
10.
So it's
Only because we started early, but it's very convenient to take.
It will be a break without tea.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
Okay.
How many minutes, Chairperson?
Shall we make it 10? Or shall we make it 15? I'm just not sure. Let's say we'll make it 15, but if the file is found earlier before the expiry of 15 minutes, I must just be informed and we'll resume.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we adjourn.
Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Myeni?
Ms. Myeni? Hello, ma'am? Can you hear us, Ms. Myeni? Hello?
Yes, hello? Yes.
Yes,
I'm
so
here.
we are about to resume, ma'am. Thank you so much. Please take your position. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All rise.
I see the challenges in finding the file took a lot of our time.
Indeed. Unfortunately, Chair, it seems what was not even a tea break became more like a lunch break, and we do apologize for that.
No, that's all right.
What I've discussed with my learned friends is that we're going to make arrangements. It was sent electronically to Ms. Myeni's lawyers, but there is an issue with it being downloaded at the moment, given its
Okay.
size. So we are facilitating a hard copy getting to her. I'm going to move off topics that require those two files to be addressed. And the hope is that by lunch or after lunch, she will have those hard copies and we can return to those matters.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Thank you, Chair. We're indebted. So I was going to be dealing with travel benefits. I'm now pending that, and I'm moving to that alleged meeting, Ms. Myeni, on the 23rd of September 2015. That's the meeting that Mr. Agreezy said had taken place with you, and it's the meeting at the Sheraton where Mr. Agreezy said you handed to him and Mr. Watson confidential police docket information regarding an investigation into Bosasa. Can you confirm that you had that meeting?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question? I would not like to incriminate myself.
Ms. Myeni, you did previously respond to this allegation, though, and you did so in your affidavit that we were looking at earlier. So I'd like to take you to it. It's at page 1082 at paragraph 13 that I'm interested in, and you'll find that in your bundle DD34B.
1082,
Chair.
Okay.
I have it, Chairperson, before me.
Yes.
So Mr. Agreezy did not testify about only one meeting at the Sheraton, but there was this particular meeting on the 23rd of September 2015, where this very specific exchange of the confidential police information, according to Mr. Agreezy, took place. And as I read your affidavit, Ms. Myeni, of March 2019 that you presented to the Commission, you only deal with Sheraton meetings with Mr. Agreezy at paragraph 13. And I would invite you to direct me anywhere else in the affidavit if you have a different understanding of it. But what happens at paragraph 13 is you say, Mr. Agreezy and I had only met in Sheraton for the first time, as stated on the allegations of his affidavit. However, I was meeting Mr. Watson to request the donation for the former president's birthday event. Do you see that?
Chairperson, I have the document, page 1082 in front of me.
Thank you. And then I was just reading paragraph 13, where it seems to me you deal with Sheraton meetings, and you say there, Mr. Agreezy and I had only met in Sheraton for the first time, as stated on the allegations of his affidavit. However, I was meeting Mr. Watson to request the donation for former president's birthday event. I asked whether do you have that in front of you? Do you see paragraph 13, Ms. Myeni?
I have page 1082 with all the paragraphs.
Okay, super. So I want to just convey to you, when I read that paragraph, it says to me that you are denying the meeting that occurred on the 23rd of September. 2015. Is that correct? Do you deny meeting him on that day?
Chairperson, may I invoke the privilege of not responding to the question so I don't incriminate myself?
And you also do deal with this exchange of documents in your affidavit, but not specifically the meeting at paragraph 11. You say at paragraph 11, I deny that, I think it's meant to say, I had met anyone from the NPA, nor am I aware of the document referred to. I intend to raise this matter in the cross-examination. I was not in possession of any document from the NPA. I deny that I shared such a document with Mr. Agreezy or Mr. Watson. It is indeed a lie. Mr. Agreezy must explain about this document in the cross-examination. I had no reason to get involved in their business. Do you stand by that denial that you handed over this confidential police information to Mr. Agreezy and Mr. Watson on the 27th of September 2015?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question? I don't want to incriminate myself.
Ms. Myeni, can you tell us when the former president's birthday is?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question? I wouldn't want to incriminate myself.
You see, from publicly available information, it appears that the former president's birthday falls on the 12th of April each year. And if that is so, it seems to me, at least, and I'd like your comment on this, to be unlikely that you would have a meeting in September of 2015 at which you were requesting a donation for the president's birthday event, because his birthday would have passed a few months earlier, or it would have been many months in the future. Do you agree with me? It's unlikely that you'd be asking for a donation for the former president's birthday event in September of a year.
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, as I understand your affidavit before this commission, you are accepting a different meeting may have taken place at the Sheraton with Mr. Agreezy, but you are denying that this specific meeting took place. And if that is indeed your denial, I'd like to probe the denial a bit further, because there is a series of independent evidence that this commission has received, which I'm going to put to you, tends to indicate that you were present at the Sheraton on the 23rd of September 2015. So I want to take you to each element of that independent evidence. The first is that let me start. Who is Mr. Nick Linnell, Ms. Myeni?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question that is being asked in case I incriminate myself?
You see, the Commission has received evidence already from Mr. Linnell in which he says that he was an advisor, generally speaking, to you, and that he was quite involved in the SAA matters, certainly in 2015 and 2016. Can you confirm that?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
I think in his evidence, my learned friend, Mr. Seleka, put it to him that he's been described as Mr. Fix-It. Are you aware of that description of Mr. Linnell?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
You see, Mr. Linnell was invoicing SAA between 2015 and part of 2016 for a number of services he was providing to SAA. So what we were able to find, and I'm going to come to the topic of Mr. Linnell in due course, but what we were able to find among those invoices was an invoice that he settled at the Sheraton Hotel, which puts him there on the 22nd and the 23rd of September 2015. Can you confirm that Mr. Linnell, who would regularly provide advice to SAA, was also at the Sheraton Hotel on those dates?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
I would like to just show you his invoice from the Sheraton so that there can be no debate on the matter. I'd like to take you, Ms. Myeni, for that purpose, to your bundle that you have in front of you, DD34B, at page 1631. And you'll find it under tab 27.
I have it, Chairperson.
So this is an invoice that Mr. Linnell submitted to South African Airways for reimbursement. And you'll see at the top right-hand corner, there's the emblem of the Sheraton. You'll see there, interestingly, that he was staying in room 619. I'm going to take you to the evidence that's already been presented to the Commission that you were staying in room 616 on these dates. Well, you stayed actually an extra date to the one that Mr. Linnell stayed. So you'll see in the columns on the right-hand side, it says room number 619, and it says arrival 22:09:15 and departure 23:09:15. Can you confirm that Mr. Linnell was staying at the Sheraton over the same dates that you were staying at the Sheraton, Ms. Myeni, in September of 2015?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Can you tell us what you and Mr. Linnell were doing at the Sheraton on the 22nd and 23rd of September 2015?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Now, the Commission went to some extensive lengths to interrogate the photographs that Mr. Agreezy testified he had taken on that date of the 23rd of September 2015, when, on his version, you handed over the confidential police information to him. Do you recall his evidence about the photograph and then the efforts that were taken by the Commission to verify the carpet that appears on the photograph? Are you aware of that evidence?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
You see, not only were efforts made to go and check what the carpet looked like on the 6th floor of the Sheraton Hotel, where this alleged exchange took place, according to Mr. Agreesy's evidence between you and him and Mr. Watson. The Commission also went to the lengths of analysing the photograph itself, which they were able to take from Mr. Agreesy's device, and evidence was presented by Mr. Frank Dutton, one of the investigators of the Commission, confirming that the analyses that had been done showed that that particular photograph, evidencing the police information and in the background the carpet that he confirmed from his own inspection in loco had the same pattern as the one in the picture, confirmed that the date the picture was taken was the 23rd of September 2015, that the time it was taken was 10:37 in the morning, and they could assess the location of the photographs as having been at the Sheraton Hotel. Now, in the face of that independent evidence, Ms. Myeni, do you persist in your denial that you were involved in giving that document to Mr. Agreesy on the 23rd of September 2015?
I would like to invoke the privilege, Chairperson, of remaining silent and not responding to the question.
Do you deny that?
In case I incriminate myself.
Do you not deny that you were staying in room 616 on the 6th floor between the dates of the 22nd and the 24th of September 2015 at the Sheraton Hotel in Pretoria?
May I not respond to the question, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Do you deny that your advisor, Mr. Linnell, was staying 3 doors down at room 619 on the 6th floor of the Sheraton on the 23rd of September 2015?
May I not respond, Chairperson, to the question, in case I incriminate myself?
The Sheraton Hotel's records, which Mr. Frank Dutton also addressed in his evidence, confirm that you stayed at the hotel between the 22nd and the 24th of September 2015. And I want to therefore put it to you, Ms. Myeni, that the independent evidence available to this Commission indicates on a strong probability that you were there, that you were staying on the 6th floor, that the 6th floor had limited access, that was another part of Mr. Agreesy's evidence, that Mr. Agreesy on the 6th floor of the Sheraton on the 23rd of September 2015 took photographs of confidential police information reflecting in its background the carpet in the floor of the Sheraton on the 6th floor that our investigator went and confirmed in 2019 remained the same patterned carpet. Against all of that evidence, will you deny that you were present on that day?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
You see, the challenge, Ms. Myeni, is that as the weight of independent evidence mounts, a bald denial on your part, or as is happening today, a refusal to engage in any of this, I put to you, is going to leave the Commission in a difficult position but to conclude that there is a probability that you were there, and that if Mr. Agreesy is to be believed in his evidence, that you handed over that confidential police information. Do you want to respond to that?
Chairperson, I don't want to incriminate myself.
Ms. Myeni, I'd then like to move to another of the benefits that you are alleged to have received from BOSASA, and that relates to a security installation. Did you have a security installation done at your home in Richards Bay in May of 2014?
May I not respond to the question, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Did BOSASA pay for that installation?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Mr. Richard LaRue gave evidence before this commission because he is the person who testified before the commission that he actually undertook that security installation. Are you aware that he gave that evidence?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
You were sent a Rule 33 notice in relation to Mr. LaRue's evidence on the 3rd of July 2020. Do you recall receiving that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Now, in Mr. LaRue's testimony, he indicated that this installation at your home had taken place, as I say, in May of 2014. He estimated that it took over 21 days in total to install it because it was a very detailed installation. And he approximated the total value of it when he included labor as well as the actual purchasing of the equipment at 486,514 rand and 63 cents. Are you aware that that installation cost just under R500,000?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
Do you agree that receiving something to the value of just less than R500,000 is a substantial benefit?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
Do you accept that if you didn't reimburse BOSASA for those costs, it would have been a gift to you?
May I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
In March of 2014, Ms. Myeni, you were the chairperson of both the SAA board and the Mhlathu's Water Board. Can you confirm that?
Chairperson, may I not respond so that I don't incriminate myself?
The conflicts of interest policies at both of those entities require gifts to be declared. Are you aware of that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Chair, in Ms. Myeni's bundle, there are affidavits that we have obtained, both from Mhlathu's Water Board as well as from SAA. I don't think it's necessary to go there now. With your leave, and if Ms. Myeni is comfortable with it, I will simply summarize what they say about their records on gift disclosures, if I may.
Yes, no, that would be fine. Do you have any problem with that, Ms. Myeni?
I do not, Chairperson, although I am part of the people that would actually develop some policies relating to conflict of interest and ensure and enforce such policies at every board and every institution that I've presided over. But I'm happy that Ms. Hoofmeyer reads the policy if the Chairperson allows her. It can educate many other people.
Yes, well, let's start with the conflict of interest policy that operated at SAA at the time. because that conflict of interest policy, and I quote, required non-executive board members of SAA to declare all gifts received by non-executive directors in their capacity of officially serving SAA and of a monetary value estimated to be more than 1,000 rand shall be declared by the relevant non-executive director. Were you aware of that requirement in the conflicts of interest policy in May of 2014?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Now, we asked SAA to go through its records of gift declarations, and the affidavit that has been provided by SAA has indicated that there's no declaration by you, Ms. Myeni, of having received a gift in the order of 486,514 rand and 63 cents from Bosasa at that time. Do you dispute the records of SAA?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
The Mhlathu's Water Board had a similar provision. It required declarations to be made of gifts received by board members. And in that case, there was actually a declaration by you having received a gift. It's a declaration you made later, though, in 2016. Do you recall making that declaration in 2016?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Chair, just for record purposes, I'll indicate where that entry is on the Mhlathu's gift register. I don't suggest it's necessary for us to go there unless Ms. Myeni wants us to. The entry of Ms. Myeni for this disclosure in 2016 appears at DD 34B at page 1471. Ms. Myeni, it was a declaration that you'd received, well, maybe let's just go there momentarily. Will you call up 1471 in Exhibit DD 34B?
I have it, Chairperson.
Apologies, Chair, my file problematic for a moment. Ms. Myeni, this is the register of the declaration of gifts received by any board member of Mhlathu's Water Board. And the page I've asked you to look at, and it spans from 2012, I think it goes up to 2017, this one. No, sorry, it's much more recent. It goes as far as this year. And what it says on the page we're looking at, we searched the whole register from 2012 to 2020 for any declarations that you'd made. And it appears at page 1471. If you look at the fifth line in that table, that there was a gift received on the 20th of January 2016. The first column indicated it was received from an entity, I assume, called ZDM. The recipient is indicated as Ms. D. Myeni. The description of the gift received is notebook and pen, and the value is declared at 200 rand. Do you remember making that declaration?
Chairperson, may I not respond in case I incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, I put it to you that this entry in this gifts declaration indicates a few things. It indicates that you were aware of your obligation to declare gifts received. Do you accept that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
It indicates that you took the receipt of a notebook and pen to the value of 200 rand to be sufficiently important to declare in this gifts register. Do you accept that?
May I not respond, Chairperson? I wouldn't want to incriminate myself.
And I also put to you that it indicates that a failure in May 2014 to declare a gift of 486,514 Rand and 63 cents would have been in breach of this policy. Do you accept that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Now, Ms. Myeni, you'll recall when I dealt with the SAA policy on conflicts of interests, the way that policy works is it requires the declaration to be made if it is a gift received, and I'm quoting now, in the capacity of officially serving SAA. Were you aware that that was the way in which the obligation was framed in the SAA conflict of interest policy?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
You see, in fairness to you, Ms. Myeni, it may well be that had you come before this commission today to answer the questions and not invoke the privilege, you might have said, well, this installation was not in any way related to my official capacity at SAA. Do you think if you were minded to have given your version, you might have raised that point of contention?
Chairperson, with your permission, may I not be fed words to say or to have said to, maybe if I was somewhere else, I would have said something. I prefer to say, here is my response, and I stand with the response I'm making that says, may I please, with your permission, invoke the privilege of not responding to the question.
Ms. Myeni, Mr. Agreezy testified before this commission that a few months, I think it was 2 months after the September 2015 meeting, there was another meeting that took place where Bosasa was meeting with the SAA CEO at the time because it was interested in pursuing security and catering contracts with SAA. Do you remember that evidence of Mr. Agreezy?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
We got in contact with the then SAA CEO, Mr. Nico Bezuidenhout, to find out from him whether he could recall any such meeting having taken place. And he provided I'm going to say a statement, I'll explain why in a moment, to the Commission. I'd like to take us to it, if we may go there. It's in the same bundle we've been dealing with, DD 34B, and it commences at page 1558 of that bundle.
I have it, Chairperson, an affidavit.
Thank you. Chair, this is an affidavit that we haven't come to yet, and so I'd like to request that we enter it as an exhibit. This will be in accordance with the Index Exhibit DD 34B.25. But Chair, if I could just request before we enter it into the record that I can give the explanation of why I'm calling it a statement and not an affidavit, despite the fact that it says affidavit on the first page.
Yes, I see that. I think you are going to tell me what I've just picked up.
Yes, indeed.
That the Commissioner of Oath did not sign.
Well, it's not quite that. The situation is such that this was prepared by Mr. Bezuidenhout and signed on the 29th of October 2020. You see that date on the last page where the Commissioner should have signed.
Yes.
But and we have his communications on this with the Commission. He was at that point in isolation for reasons similar to Ms. Myeni.
Yes.
And so what he did was he provided this signed. It was prepared as an affidavit because he had every intention of deposing to it.
Yes.
And the arrangement we reached with him is that as soon as he's in a position to go before a Commissioner of Oaths, he will properly depose to it.
Yes.
So that will come before the Commission. But we needed to have this version to put to Ms. Myeni today. So we made that arrangement in the circumstances with your leave.
Okay.
So if we could enter it as Exhibit DD 34B.25.
You said DD 34B point?
0.25.
25. The statement stroke affidavit by Mr. Nico Bezedinho starting at page 1558 is admitted as Exhibit DD 34B.25. I take it you will seek to have it replaced with
Indeed.
one which has got the Commissioner's oath.
Indeed.
As well.
Indeed.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
So for now, I just want to enable you, Ms. Myeni, to respond, should you wish to what Mr. Bezuidenhout confirms here. If we start at page 1559.
I guess we start by saying who he is.
Apologies,
He was
Chair.
acting CEO of SAA from 10 November 2014 to 10 July 2015.
That's
That's
correct.
what he says, yeah.
Indeed.
Yes, you may proceed.
Chair, I realize that I have made an error in dates, and I need to just correct that. You'll see here at paragraph 4 on page 1559,
Yes.
Mr. Bezuidenhout says there, first, I do not carry any awareness of any meeting Ms. Myeni had at Bosasa's offices and was never informed of such. He was asked generally to indicate to the Commission what knowledge he had of any such meetings. So he indicates, firstly, he had no awareness of any meeting that Ms. Myeni, you may have had at Bosasa's offices. But then what he goes on to say is that you did, shortly after he assumed his acting CEO role at SAA, in November of 2015, and at a time when Air Chefs was experiencing operational difficulties, suggest that Air Chefs should consider engaging with and getting advice from Bosasa. And he says that you had said that Bosasa was experienced in providing meals at large scale on a daily basis. And he goes on and says that they, according to you, Ms. Myeni, had proven this capability in the prison service. And he says, and I'm under correction, I seem to recall she also mentioned hospitals. Do you remember having that conversation with Mr. Bezuidenhout?
Chairperson, may I not respond? I wouldn't want to incriminate myself.
It goes on and says that you advised that the CEO of Bosasa was traveling in Johannesburg. He says it was on a Saturday morning, as I recall, and that Ms. Myeni was in Johannesburg on the day, and you asked him if he could join for an introductory meeting at the Intercontinental Hotel. Do you recall having that conversation with Mr. Bezuidenhout?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Chair, I indicated that I had made a date error. I want to just explain why I think I've made a date error, but I suspect that
You
it
might
might
not have.
not be my error, yes, and that it may be necessary to go back to Mr. Bezuidenhout. You see, what I noticed as I was going through the affidavit, Chair, is that Mr. Bezuidenhout says at paragraph 1 that he was the acting chief executive officer for SAA from 10 November 2014 to approximately 10 July 2015. And then he goes on to talk about these interactions, and he talks about them having taken place in November of 2015. And he says that that was shortly after assuming his acting role at SAA. Chair, that date doesn't make sense in the context of paragraph 1. So we're going to need to get clarity from Mr. Bezuidenhout. It may be that there's an error in the year, that he's put in 2015 when he means 2014, because that would accord with his first paragraph, where he says he took up the position from approximately 10 November 2014. It's then consistent to say shortly thereafter there was this interaction. And certainly my knowledge is that he was there at that time. It's November 2014 to mid-2015. He's not in that role at the end of 2015, because that's when a lot is happening with Ms. Mshe, who was filling the role, and then Mr. Zwane, who replaced her. So that created the concern in my mind about the dates, but subject to a clarification from Mr. Bezuidenhout that there's an error in his paragraph 4. It should be November 2014 and not November 2015. I then want to go on to tell you, Ms. Myeni, what he says about the meeting. And for present purposes, I'd like us to assume that it took place in November of 2014, given what I've just said. So if we go to paragraph 5 on page 1559, that is where he indicated that you said that the CEO of Bosasa wanted to have this meeting, and you asked him whether he could join it at the Intercontinental Hotel. And then at paragraph 6, he says, and I'm quoting, "When I arrived at the hotel, Ms. Myeni introduced me to Mr. Gavin Watson as Bosasa's CEO and Mr. Angelo Agrizi as COO. I cannot specifically recall, but there may have been a third unknown person, but I'm not sure." He says, after introductions, Mr. Watson proceeded to do a prayer, and then discussions went into general topics and took a religious tone. Ms. Myeni, did you know Mr. Watson as a religious person?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
Did you ever attend other meetings where Mr. Watson would open the meeting with a prayer?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
He goes on at paragraph 7 on page 1559 to say, without the discussion having any objective, as far as I knew, I'm quoting from him, other than being an introduction, one of the parties, I do not recall which one, referenced SAA's security tender that was in progress at the time, and, as I recall, appeared to question whether the tender was being fairly handled. He says, I stated that whilst I'm not directly involved with the tender, SAA's tender processes entail various checks and balances, and that no information had been brought to me, that's him, to indicate that the process, as far as the security tender, was not being fairly handled. He then goes on and at paragraph 8 it says, one of the parties, again he doesn't recall which one, turned to Bosasa's experience in running large-scale canteens, and that there may have been assistance in this regard at Air Chefs. He says, I advise that the management team at Air Chefs will review all possible suppliers and interventions, as the need to improve Air Chefs' delivery was topical amongst SAA group management. Do you recall those discussions having taken place at this meeting in November of 2014?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
He says at paragraph 9 that the meeting then concluded, as he recalls it, with Mr. Watson asking whether, and I'm quoting now, I had any personal security concerns, and me advising that no, I had not, and that SAA's security division, as is customary for CEOs or acting CEOs, had performed a security risk assessment at my property. And he goes on and says the meeting then concluded. Do you remember that discussion having taken place at that meeting?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
He says at paragraph 10, following the meeting, I obtained confirmation from SAA's head of security that the then current tender process for SAA security services was being conducted fully compliant to SAA's procurement procedures. And he goes on finally to say at paragraph 11, I further notified the Air Chef's acting CEO of Bosasa's claimed capability for consideration amongst the other possible service providers or interventions the Air Chef's team were considering at the time. And then he says he had no subsequent interactions with Bosasa. Did those, Ms. Myeni, again, just for your version, do you confirm that any of those accounts of the meeting took place?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, the evidence about the security installation at your home was first received by the Commission through Mr. Agreezy, and as I indicated to you earlier, Mr. LaRue then gave evidence to confirm that he had done the installation at your home in Richards Bay. He gave the approximate value of it. He indicated how many days it had taken. And then the Commission has identified that in October of last year, a search and seizure warrant was obtained by the Hawks in relation to the evidence that had been given at the Commission. Are you aware of that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
The search and seizure was, well, for reasons that will become apparent, I don't actually think I should refer to it as a search and seizure. An operation took place in October of last year pursuant to that warrant at your residence in Richards Bay. Can you confirm that?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so I don't incriminate myself?
Mr. LaRue was involved in that operation, as was Captain Nevan of the Hawks, and both of them have deposed to affidavits which appear in your bundle, Ms. Myeni. I'd like to go to first Mr. Nevan's affidavit. You'll find that at DD 34B at page 1936. No, sorry, I think that page is incorrect. I think it starts at 1941. Oh, sorry, I've got confused.
I have it, Chairperson.
Let's start, apologies, Chair. I'd like to start at 1936, but that is not Captain Nevan's affidavit, that is Richard LaRue's affidavit. So do you have 1936 in front of you, Ms. Myeni?
Have you got page 1936?
Yes, I do, Chairperson.
You do, okay, all right.
Chair, this is the first time we're coming to this affidavit of Mr. LaRue. Now, this is actually the fourth affidavit that Mr. LaRue has provided to the Commission. May I request that we enter it as Exhibit DD 34B.37 in accordance with the index?
The affidavit of Mr. Richard LaRue, starting at page 1936, is admitted as Exhibit DD 34B.37.
Chair and Ms. Myeni, what Mr. LaRue begins by doing is really just for locating the reader, talks a bit about the previous evidence he's given. He confirms again that he did the installation, that there were invoices identified which reflected the equipment that he purchased between the 21st of May and the 26th of May 2014. He again confirms that it took approximately 21 days. He confirms who he was with when he did the installation. He confirms where they stayed, etc. And he concludes at page 1937 to say at paragraph 13, all the expenses relating to the security equipment, the costs, the labor, the accommodation, and the travel were all paid for by Bosasa or African Global Operations. And in paragraph 14, he says, I, in my duty as head of special projects, have no personal knowledge of what, if any, arrangements had been made by Bosasa and Ms. Myeni in regard to the costs made by Bosasa or African Global Operations. Ms. Myeni, I think I asked you earlier, but in case I didn't, can I just confirm, did you ever reimburse Bosasa for the 486,514 Rand and 63 cents that this installation cost? I'm worried we may have...
Did you hear that, Ms. Myeni? Can you still hear us? It looks like she can't hear us.
There was
disconnection.
Yeah, I can hear you now, Chairperson. There was no connection.
Okay, all right. Ms. Hofmeyer will repeat her question.
Yes, I was just asking Ms. Myeni for confirmation whether you ever reimbursed Bosasa for the 486,514 Rand and 63 cents that this installation cost at your home.
May I not respond, Chairperson, so I avoid incriminating myself?
I guess, Ms. Hofmeyer, when you say installation costs, it sounds like it's just labor costs.
No, I
But
shouldn't.
You mean including material?
Indeed, indeed.
Yes,
So that is an estimate of the approximate cost, this is dealt with at paragraph 12, of the equipment and labor, as he previously set out. Thank you for that clarification, Chair. Chair, just before I continue with the questions, I've just been sent a note by the Secretariat of the Commission that they are having difficulty making contact with Ms. Myeni's lawyers to arrange for the drop-off of the hard copy file in Pretoria.
Yes.
So I've been asked if I could just ask my learned friends if they can please make arrangements so that that contact can be made so that we can facilitate the drop-off as soon as you're able to do so. Thank you.
Okay, and somebody will tell them who to contact within the Commission to make that possible.
Well, as I understand it, the Commission has the contact number and is endeavouring to contact the legal representative.
Oh, okay.
He hasn't answered those calls,
Yes.
but the person is waiting to make the delivery. So just so that you know, we're ready and waiting, and at any point that contact can be made, we can facilitate the delivery. Thank you.
Okay. Because that delivery is urgent, let me find out whether you think you will be of assistance in this regard.
Sorry, Chair, unless we take like 5 minutes and see what we can do, because now we're following the evidence.
Yes.
Chair.
Okay, let's take a 5 minutes adjournment so that, because I was thinking that if we take a short adjournment, it may well be that Ms. Myeni, who hears what Ms. Hofmeyer has just said, might on her side also contact her attorney to say, please make yourself available. The Commission is trying to contact you to deliver a bundle. So let's take, shall we say 10 minutes, it's 25 past 11. Let's resume at 25 to 12.
Thank you, Chair.
We adjourn. I hope it's been sorted out.
Indeed, Chair. Contact has been made and arrangements are now being made for the handover. So we really are very indebted to you. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's proceed.
Chair, before we took the adjournment, and Ms. Myeni, we were looking at Mr. Richard Leroux's fourth affidavit before the Commission, and we were at page 1937, and I'd like us now to turn up page 1938, which commences with paragraph 15. Chair and Ms. Myeni, it's not a very long affidavit, and it's quite an important piece of evidence before the Commission. And so I'm going to propose just to read parts of it into the record, also for your benefit, Ms. Myeni. It has formed part of your bundle, but you may not have had an opportunity to look at it in detail. What Mr. Leroux starts to recount from paragraph 15 is an operation that he was involved in October of last year. And just to, Ms. Myeni,
Just
are you?
a second. Are you settled, Ms. Myeni?
I am, Chairperson, thank you. I have the page in front of me.
Okay, all right.
So, Mr. Leroux was involved in this operation in October of 2019, and I just want to locate us in time before, as I did before the break. Mr. Agreasy gives evidence in early 2019. Mr. Leroux himself gives evidence in mid-2019, and then this is what follows. There's an operation conducted by the Hawks at Ms. Myeni's home in Richards Bay, and what Mr. Leroux is now going to tell us about in his affidavit. So he says at paragraph 15, in or about October 2019, I was taken to Durban by vehicle with Captain Nevin of the South African Police Services, the Hawks, together with other members of the South African Police Services, the Hawks. Captain Nevin requested me to assist him in pointing out both the premises and the equipment myself and my team installed at Ms. Myeni's house on the instructions of Bosasa and Gavin Watson. I remember there was also a police photographer that came down with a group of people. Captain Nevin will be able to give more details as to the names and ranks of the people that came down with us. And I just pause here to indicate we have obtained, Chair, an affidavit of Captain Nevin. Mr. Leroux goes on to say, to the best of my recollection, we went down to Durban on a Wednesday in October 2019, where we slept over at a hotel in Durban, and we left Thursday morning for Richards Bay by road. We travelled down in 2 vehicles. Captain Nevin asked me if I was in a position to point out the premises to him, as he did not want to give me the address. And when we arrived in Richards Bay, I took them to the premises and pointed it out. When we arrived at the premises, Mrs. Myeni was not there, and we were not able to get access to the premises. We spent many hours sitting outside the premises, and the South African Police Service were busy in telephonic discussions with both the state advocate and what I understood were Ms. Myeni's lawyers. We did not gain access to the house, and then we left to return to the hotel in Durban. We travelled at approximately 6 a.m. the next morning back to Richards Bay, and after various phone calls between the lawyers, when we arrived there, we were given access to only certain parts of the premises. I personally waited outside until I was called by Captain Nevin to come onto the premises. We only gained access on the Friday. Ms. Myeni, I'm now over at page 1939, and I'm reading from paragraph 25. What Mr. Leroux then says is, when I went onto the premises, I was able to point out various of the equipment that I'd installed, but this was only on the outside of the premises, and I pointed out certain items inside the premises. The Hawks were unable to get access to other parts of the house, as these were closed off with trellis door, and no one had keys in order to open same. The main equipment that I, together with my technicians, had installed was contained in the main office inside the house, to which no access was provided on the day of the search warrant execution. This consisted of the switches and the main system that operated the security equipment. The Hawks were also unable to get access to the passage where I and my technicians had installed the alarm panel, which had controlled the passives and the beams for the alarm system. The Hawks were also unable to get access to the garage, where I had installed the energizer, which had controlled the electric fence, which surrounded the premises. I recall that while I was doing the installation, there was a standalone safe inside the room that was used as an office. Towards the garage, there was also a large walk-in safe door, and this safe did not appear to be in any use. I myself have no personal knowledge as to why the Hawks did not gain further access into the premises, and I verily believe that Captain Nevin can give facts relating to why no further access was obtained in terms of the search warrant. From the security equipment that access was obtained, we managed to obtain serial numbers which were taken down by the Hawks and recorded. Members of the Hawks took photographs and kept notes of what I'd pointed out to them. And now from page 1940. After the Hawks had completed the search of the premises, I can confirm no security equipment were taken from the premises. We then left to return to Joburg. I further recall that while we were traveling back to Johannesburg, I was in the motor vehicle when Captain Nevin received a phone call from one of his fellow officers. The context of the conversation that I picked up was that Ms. Myeni was extremely upset about the way in which the search warrant had been executed and conducted, and she had phoned a very senior person in Durban who had contacted Captain Nevin's officers in order to register her complaint. Ms. Myeni, before I ask for your comment on those events that took place in October last year, I'd like us just to look at what the search and seizure warrant entitled the South African Police Service to do at your premises. And you'll find the search and seizure warrant attached to Captain Nevin's affidavit, which is the next document in the bundle. It commences at page 1941. Do you have that?
Yes, Ms. Hofmeyer.
Chair, if we could enter this affidavit of Mr. Charles Nevin into the record as Exhibit DD 34B.38.
The affidavit of Mr. Charles Nevin, starting at page 1941, is admitted as Exhibit DD 34B.38.
So, Chair, I'll return if necessary in a moment to the actual affidavit itself, but what Captain Nevin does is he gives his account, which in substantial measure accords with the account that I've just given of Mr. Leroux, and then he attaches to his affidavit both the warrant itself, which you'll see commencing at page 1946, as well as the application that was made for the search and seizure warrant, which commences at page 1950, and that is accompanied by the affidavit supporting the search and seizure warrant being issued, and that commences at page 1591. Now, what Captain Nevin confirms, he was the deponent both to the affidavit supporting the application for the search warrant, as well as the affidavit that he's provided to the Commission to explain what happened on the days of the execution of the warrant. You see, what he says in essence to the magistrate before he came in order to obtain the search warrant is that, and Chair, I'm going to paraphrase a bit and read pertinent parts where it's appropriate to do so, and also for your benefit, Ms. Myeni. Captain Nevin confirms in his affidavit, pursuant to which the search and seizure warrant was given, that he had been assigned to investigate the commission of the offence that's dealt with further below in the SAP's criminal investigation team. And at page 1952, paragraph 4.2, he says, The offence being investigated at this point in time in the above investigation, which is relevant to this application and which is submitted, is at least reasonably capable of being believed or suspected to have been committed or are being committed, as canvassed in more detail below, is as follows. And then it is offences in relation to corrupt activities relating to public officers that is then set out. Those are provisions from PRECA, as I understand it, the legislation. Oh, Chair, it seems that we might have lost connection with Ms. Myeni.
Oh, yes.
We're looking into it, I can see.
Okay, let's wait. Hopefully the technicians will sort it out quickly.
I am back, Chairperson. There was an connection
Disconnection.
problem.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yes, but I've been following what I've been hearing.
You have been hearing?
What the evidence leader was saying.
Okay, all right. Okay.
So what the affidavit does is it identifies that there's an investigation and reasonable grounds for suspecting that offences related to corrupt activities may have taken place. And the evidence is then set out, and that is the evidence of Mr. LaRue that was provided to this commission. Chair, you'll see that, and Ms. Myeni at page 1953 from paragraph 5.2. So what Captain Nevin is effectively doing here is going before a magistrate to get a search and seizure warrant of Ms. Myeni's premises based on the evidence that Mr. Richard LaRue presented to this commission, and that is set out clearly in paragraph 5.2 because he makes reference to the statement of Mr. LaRue before the commission. And then he says that that evidence is enough to warrant the search and seizure, to warrant the issue of the search and seizure warrant. And he concludes with something that I do believe it's necessary to read verbatim into the record. And that appears at page 1956 from paragraph 9 on that page. You see, paragraph 9 is headed "The need for the search and seizure of the articles referred above." And what Captain Nevin says in this affidavit, pursuant to which a warrant was issued, is the following. It is submitted that there is a need to secure the articles concerned by way of a search for and seizure of the articles at the premises concerned and in terms of a warrant that has been applied for and issued. 9.2, the reasons are: the above articles will form part of the evidence to strengthen the truthfulness of the allegations made against the suspect, thus strengthening the state case. The said Ms. Duduzile Myeni is the alleged perpetrator of the offence concerned. Any other manner of attempting to secure the articles concerned will forewarn the said Ms. Myeni. In this circumstance, the said Ms. Myeni is likely to take all reasonable steps she can to hide, destroy, or otherwise prevent the articles being secured for the purposes of the investigation. And then he seeks a warrant in the terms that were attached to his affidavit, and that was a warrant entitling the Hawks to go to Ms. Myeni's premises to obtain access, to search for the various articles of security equipment that Mr. LaRue had testified about before this commission, and to seize those articles because, and I emphasize again, their view was that there would otherwise be a risk that that equipment could be hidden, destroyed, or otherwise prevented from being secured for the purposes of an investigation. And they made it clear that that would be evidence necessary in any subsequent case involving Ms. Myeni. So, Ms. Myeni, I've indicated to you the basis upon which the warrant was sought and obtained, and I've indicated to you what Mr. LaRue has said about how that search warrant was executed. Can you confirm whether these events did take place as Mr. LaRue describes them in October of last year?
I invoke the privilege, Chairperson, of not responding to the question so that I don't incriminate myself.
Ms. Myeni, I would like to put it to you that it is quite remarkable that the police service of our country could obtain a search and seizure warrant to secure evidence that may be relevant in a criminal trial, to arrive at your premises to seek to execute that warrant, and to be kept outside the premises for a full day, only to return the second day. Were you involved in barring their entry for the first day to your premises?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question that is being asked so that I don't incriminate myself?
When the police arrived on the second day, they were then permitted access, but they were not permitted to access the whole of the premises. Were you involved in giving an instruction that they could only access parts of the premises?
Chairperson, may I not answer the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
You gave evidence yesterday that no one accesses your premises without your permission. So I put it to you that it is likely that you were responsible for the instructions that denied access to certain parts of the premises. Can you confirm that?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
The police were there with Mr. Leroux, whose evidence before this commission is that he made these installations himself, and he told them that in the parts of the house and the garage that they were not permitted to access, he had installed the very equipment that the search and seizure warrant entitled the police to look for and seize. Did you give a specific instruction that they would not be permitted to do that?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, if you did give this instruction, do you have any idea of why the instruction was abided?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, maybe you can assist the Commission with indicating to us how it can happen that a search and seizure warrant is authorized by a magistrate, that police travel down to your home in Richards Bay, that they are delayed for the first day, they return on the second day in circumstances where the very reason that they got this warrant is because they said that there were reasonable grounds for suspecting the equipment may be hidden or destroyed or otherwise prevented from being accessed. And then when they finally are given access, they only are given access to parts of the house. How does that happen, Ms. Myeni?
Chairperson, may I not respond so that I don't incriminate myself?
The final point I want to pick up on is you gave evidence yesterday that you don't have a safe, either in your office, in your house, or in your garage. Mr. Leroux says you do. Is he lying?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, I put it to you that you are, well, you have been and you remain a powerful person. You're a person who can delay the police executing a search and seizure warrant as recently as October of last year. Do you have a response to that?
I cannot comment, Chairperson, on somebody's view unless I'm asked a question about Ms. Hofmeyer's view, Chairperson. He's made a view, it's his opinion. I cannot comment on somebody's opinion.
Ms. Myeni, your way of engagements with institutions of the state is something on which this commission has also received other evidence. And that was evidence in relation to the activities of the State Security Agency at SAA while you were chairperson of the board. And that is the topic I would like to move to next. And just with the caveat, Chair, I ordinarily would have concluded the Bosasa evidence, but we will come back to the travel benefits once Ms. Myeni has the bundle. But we're now going to move to the State Security Agency. Ms. Myeni, you had protection services provided to you from the State Security Agency, correct?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
You received those protection services according to the evidence of Mr. Y before this commission from a special operations unit within the State Security Agency. Can you confirm that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, to avoid incriminating myself?
Chair, when Mr. Y gave evidence, one of the things that was attached to his affidavit was the high-level review panel's report into the activities of the State Security Agency. That panel had found that this special operations unit of the State Security Agency was, quote, a law unto itself, and it was found to have, quote, directly served the interests of the executive. Chair and Ms. Myeni, I don't suggest we go there, but just for the record, that reference is in Exhibit DD 23 at page 237. What that report also confirms is that those who receive protection services from the Special Operations Unit were not entitled to it. Ms. Myeni, before you received these services, did you ever make inquiries as to whether you would be lawfully securing them?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question to avoid incriminating myself?
Mr. Y's evidence was that no security assessment seems to have been done on you before these protection services were provided, according to the records of the State Security Agency. Can you dispute that?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
For the record, Chair, that aspect of Mr. Y's evidence, it can be found in the record at Exhibit DD 23, page 12, paragraph 5.3. The evidence of Mr. Y, Mr. Munsami, whose affidavit was presented when Mr. Y gave evidence, is that those state security personnel who were providing you with protection services were also on occasion involved in confiscating items from members of the board of SAA while you were its chairperson. Do you dispute that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Evidence has previously been received by this commission that you on occasion would insist that members of the board and management of SAA leave all recording devices, well, devices capable of recording, so cell phones, laptops, etc., outside of meeting rooms, and you further would require any notes from meetings to be torn up before people left the meeting. Do you dispute that?
Chairperson, may I not respond to that question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, do you know why you were provided with these services, despite the fact that they were not lawfully procured?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, why did you arrange for the State Security Agency to conduct a security vetting operation on the managers and support staff at SAA?
Chairperson, the question that is being asked is factual question. Why did I arrange? Or somebody has alleged, or it's a fact? just clarity, Chair, I'm requesting respectfully for clarity.
Yes, I'll certainly assist Ms. Myeni. What we did in the evidence last year is we had Ms. Myeni, who I understand conducted the operation, the security vetting operation at SAA, give evidence. Do you know Ms. Myeni?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
It was Ms. Myeni whose evidence was that it was pursuant to engagements between yourself and then Minister Mahlobo that the security operation was undertaken. Can you confirm that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
When Mr. Myeni gave evidence, we were taken to the exchange of letters between Minister Mahlobo and Minister Nene at the time, in terms of which the security vetting operation had been authorized. And what was given in that correspondence as the basis for the operation was that there was, quote, sensitive information that was being received on an ongoing basis by the management and support staff of SAA. Do you recall being concerned about the receipt of sensitive information by managers and support staff at SAA?
May I not respond to the question, Chairperson? So that I don't incriminate myself.
Chair, again for the record, that letter from Minister Mahlobo to Minister Nene, in which this basis for the operation is set out, can be found in Exhibit DD 24, page 17. And also, just for the record, the evidence of Ms. Myeni occurred on the 19th of February 2020. Now, Ms. Myeni, in the course of Ms. Myeni's evidence, we established with her that the entire vetting operation was not in accordance with the governing legislation. Are you aware of that evidence having been given?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
You see, what we probed with Ms. Myeni is that in terms of the governing legislation, these types of operations can only be conducted where classified information is being accessed by those who will be security vetted. And that classified information is something different from sensitive information. Before this operation was conducted at SAA, did you ever take time to consider that distinction between classified information and sensitive information?
Chairperson, with your permission, can Ms. Hofmeyer read the letter that she is talking about?
With pleasure.
Or show me the letter that she is talking about?
With pleasure.
She
Let's
will
go
do
to
so.
it.
She will do so, Ms. Myeni.
Now, for this, Ms. Myeni, it's a DD bundle, so I'm cautiously optimistic that you have it with you. It's DD 24 at page 17. So if you'll just find that bundle, and then we can look at the letter.
I have the letter, Chairperson.
So this letter, Chair and Ms. Myeni, appears as an annexure. Oh, apologies, Chair, you don't have it yet. Let me just
Not
pause
yet.
for a moment. Ms. Myeni was quicker than you or I in taking the bundle, so. It will be page 17.
Yes, I've got it now. got it, Ms. Hofmeyer.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Myeni, I was just also locating you. So this is the first annexure to Ms. Myeni's affidavit, which precedes it in this Exhibit DD 24. And what you'll see there is it's a letter. If you go over the page to 18, it's the letter that the then Minister of State Security, Mr. David Mohlobo, writes to the then Minister of Finance, Mr. Nene. And this is a letter that was copied to you, the chairperson of the board of SAA. Do you remember receiving this letter around October of 2015?
May I not respond, Chairperson? The reason why I asked the Chair was for the record, the letter be read as I requested to you, Chairperson, because it appears from what is being said and asked, I am the one who asked for the security vetting of all South African state-owned enterprises. And I don't think there is any chairperson who sits in any cabinet to take such decisions. That is why, Chairperson, I'm asking for the record that these letters be read, because there is an insinuation that I would use state organs and the views that have been expressed here, which are unfair views, Chair. I am here as an innocent person. And the way in which the evidence leader is trying to knit questions, is trying to put my security issues back in my house, that any person can just access somebody's house without her being present in the premises. And I can see that I have no rights as a black woman, because no white woman who has a house without her being in the premises can allow just about any person to walk into the house. Here now, I am the one who has given the cabinet a decision to vet all state-owned enterprises. It cannot be so. I am here because my guilt is the association with Jacob Zuma. So it can't be. Chairperson, I would like, with your permission, to get the protection. I am an ordinary human being that makes mistakes. Where I make a mistake, I admit to make a mistake. But I cannot continuously be associated with certain decisions in state organs that are unfair. This is misleading. That is why I'm asking for the record that the evidence leader read this letter, because now it appears as though I am the one who went and asked Minister Mashoko and Minister Dele to investigate or to vet only South African Airways staff. It cannot be. I protected the staff of South African Airways through and through when I was chairperson there. That's chairperson.
Okay. Ms. Hofmeyer will read that letter, or she might ask you to read it so that it's read to the record. I just want to say about other matters that you have raised, that when there is only one side of the story, it could give rise to certain perspectives. So where you are able to put your side of the story or your perspectives, it helps to give a balanced view. But when I say that, I'm not saying that you mustn't invoke your privilege if you consider it appropriate. I'm just mentioning that there is a disadvantage, or there are disadvantages when there is only one side of the story as compared to when there are both sides. So when there is one side, that could easily give rise to misunderstandings or gives rise to certain perspectives which might not be there if they are all sides placed before the commission. Ms. Hofmeyer, are you going to read it or are you going to ask her to read it?
Chair, I will read it with pleasure. I do just want to indicate one point of clarification.
Yes.
Because I do want Ms. Myeni to understand that, and the record will show this. At no point did I, in my questioning, state that Ms. Myeni had been responsible for the arranging of the vetting of all SOEs.
Yes.
That is not something that I said. What I said is that there had been evidence before this commission that she was involved in arranging the vetting of SAA management and their support staff. It's a very different statement, and it is that statement that I'm exploring with Ms. Myeni in the evidence right now. And when she asked for clarification as to where that came from, I made it clear that it came from the evidence of Ms. Dlamini, who had conducted the operation at SAA, and who was asked in particular about the background to these letters. So it is not my statement.
Yes.
It is Ms. Dlamini's statement giving evidence before this commission. But let me read the letter into the record as
Yes.
Ms. Myeni has requested.
Yes, it's a letter from Mr. David Mahlobo, Minister of State Security, dated 13 October 2015, addressed to Mr. N.M. Nene, Minister of Finance at the time. Yes, continue.
Thank you, Chair. And just to note, it is copied to Ms. Myeni as Chairperson of the Board of SAA. It says, Dear colleague, so this is Minister Mahlobo speaking to Minister Nene. Security vetting of the South African Airways executive management and support staff. 1, the above matter refers. 2, it has come to the attention of the State Security Agency that there is an urgent need for vetting and re-vetting of the state-owned enterprises, given sensitive information received on an ongoing basis. I would just like to pause there. It's precisely how it came to the attention of the State Security Agency that we traversed with Ms. Dlamini. Her knowledge of what was happening around this letter was probed with her, and her evidence was that she assumed, I don't recall her having personal knowledge of it, but she assumed that there had been engagements between Minister Mahlobo and Ms. Myeni about this. And certainly the later letter is a letter from Ms. Myeni providing the list of the people who are required to be vetted. Paragraph 3 goes on. SOCs as government entities have a huge impact on the economy of the country, and therefore extremely important for the SSA to conduct security vetting as per Section 1 of the National Strategic Intelligence Act, that is Act 39 of 1994 as amended by Act 67 of 2002, states that, quote, the National Intelligence Agency, in brackets NIA, has the mandate to vet all other national, provincial and local government departments, parastatals and their service providers, close quotations. Chair, I should interject there as well, just to give the benefit of Ms. Dlamini's evidence. We looked in her evidence for that alleged section from the Act. You may recall this, Chair, and
I recall.
that section does not exist in the Act.
Yes, I
so
recall
it
that.
appears in this letter as though it's quoting from a section of the Act. It cannot be found in the Act. Paragraph 4 over the page reads, this should be understood from the background of challenges affecting most of the state-owned companies. 6, the chairperson of SAA will be required to provide a list of all executive management and support staff. 7, an update will be provided on completion. 8, yours sincerely, and then it's signed by Minister Mahlobo. Ms. Myeni, so that is the letter that you've requested that we read into the record. I had asked you before your last answer whether prior to this exercise being conducted, you'd ever had the occasion to consider the distinction between classified information and sensitive information. What is your response to that?
Chairperson, may I not respond in case I incriminate myself? Thank you.
Now, this was a vetting operation that was conducted at SAA in late 2015. Ms. Dlamini's evidence was also that there were no other state-owned entities that were vetted at that time. The only other ones that have been vetted were Transnet 2 years later, in December of 2017, and ESCOM in April of 2019. So during the period of 2015 and 2016, there was no other vetting going on of SOEs. That reference you'll find, Chair and Ms. Myeni, in Ms. Dlamini's affidavit, which is earlier in the bundle, DD 24 at page 15. Now, Ms. Myeni, one question that we probed with Ms. Myeni is the following. If the concern which underscored the need to vet people at SAA was their access to sensitive information, we asked her for her view. Wouldn't it then make sense that not only management and support staff, but also the board members of SAA be vetted? Did you ever consider before this operation whether you and your colleagues on the board should be vetted?
May I not respond, Chairperson, to the question in case I incriminate myself? But Chairperson, yesterday the Chair said, once I've responded to the question, I can say something after I have responded.
Well, if it's a question in respect of which you don't invoke your privilege, and you say something like yes to a question, but you want to explain something, yes, that you can do. So, in other words, or if you say no, but I want to explain something, that's fine. But what I said this morning, which I didn't say yesterday, was that if you invoke the privilege, then you invoke the privilege. You can't give some answer and then afterwards say you are invoking the privilege to that question. So you have to make up your mind on each question. Am I invoking my privilege? If you do, that's what you do. But if you elect to answer, then you are not forced to say yes or no necessarily if you would like to explain something. Obviously, it helps if you are able to say yes or no, or in terms of questions, so that we make progress. But if there is a need to qualify or explain, I will allow you to do that. You understand?
Yes, thank you very much, Chairperson.
Yes.
I understand, and it's clear.
Yes, okay.
What I would like to say, it's a comment to you, Chairperson. It is unrelated to the question that was asked. Under normal circumstances, Chairperson, in state-owned enterprises, board members, before they get appointed, they would be vetted. I'm saying under normal circumstances. This is a comment for you, Chairperson.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Chair.
Ms. Hofmeyer?
Ms. Myeni, Ms. Myeni indicated that no board members were vetted during this operation in late 2015. Do you dispute that?
May I not respond to the question, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
She indicated that in her view, and I'd like your comment on whether you disagree with this view, if the management and support staff were being vetted because of access to sensitive information, and the board also had access to sensitive information, then the board members should also be vetted on the basis of Minister Mahlobo's letter. Do you agree with that view?
May I not respond, Chairperson, to the view of Ms. Dlamini, in case I incriminate myself?
Do you know why this operation was conducted without board members who would have had as much access to sensitive information as anyone else in SAA were not vetted?
May I not respond, Chairperson? May I invoke the privilege so I don't incriminate myself?
Do you think it might have been because the board members didn't want to be confronted with the very intimate questions that management were subjected to when they were, had to undergo the polygraph tests?
May I not respond, Chairperson, to the question so that I don't incriminate myself?
Would you agree that being asked a question like, have you ever had an affair, is a sensitive and intimate matter?
I was not there. Chairperson, may I not respond to this question? May I not respond to this question because I don't want to incriminate myself.
We have received evidence from Ms. Pumeza Nancy before this commission that you conveyed to her that you wanted to use the outcome of the vetting to remove one of the people in the finance department of SAA, Ms. Lindsay Olitsky. Do you dispute her evidence on that count?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
For the record, again, and Ms. Myeni, if you would like to go there, we can. Ms. Nancy's affidavit on the score can be found in Exhibit DD2, apologies, page 22, paragraph 70. Her version before this commission is that you told her to get rid of Ms. Nancy because she'd to get rid of Ms. Olitsky because she'd failed the vetting on account of her dual citizenship. Do you dispute that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Ms. Nancy's evidence was further to the effect that when she had a conversation, I think it was with Mr. Zwane, she felt a bit uncomfortable about this. They were worried that there would be labor issues if this was taken forward, and so she did not take it forward. And she said when she relayed that to you, you said that you were not happy about it. Do you dispute that?
So what did you say? Who told... who sent information to SAA that the person did not pass the vetting? Sorry, did you say that?
Yes, sorry. So let me go back a step. The outcome of Ms. Olitsky's security vetting was that...
Where is it? On the file, is it here?
Ms. Olitsky's outcome.
Yes.
No, it's not, because the State Security Agency did not provide us with those documents. But we do have an affidavit of Ms. Olitsky confirming that what was communicated to her was that that her dual citizenship was flagged as an issue for her security vetting, and she was asked for her attitude in relation to her dual citizenship. So that's the background, Ms. Myeni, but what I was putting to you was that Ms. Nancy gave evidence in this commission that you, Ms. Myeni, said to Ms. Nancy that you wanted to remove Ms. Olitsky on the grounds or following from the fact that she had failed the vetting on account of her dual citizenship. Do you dispute having said that to Ms. Nancy?
So, may I not respond to this question?
Is that on the grounds that it may tend to incriminate you?
Sorry, Chairperson, I missed that. There was a bit of a delay.
Or she's asking whether that is on the grounds that you don't want to incriminate yourself.
Yes, I completed the sentence, Chairperson. I did.
Okay, we didn't
apologies.
hear this side.
Ms. Myeni, because you've raised the issue, I actually do think it's fair to you to read exactly what Ms. Nancy said on this score. And would you like to take up the bundle? It's DD2, so you can have it in front of you.
Chairperson, I thought there was a letter that Ms. Hofmeyer was referring to that came from the state security that made or communicated the outcomes of vetting. That was the main question that I was asking, because I heard Ms. Hofmeyer saying it was communicated to her. I thought she's referring to me communicating to her.
She's going
Not
to...
to Ms. Nancy, not to Ms. Nancy, to Olitsky.
Okay, she's going to clarify that.
Yes, let me just be clear, sorry. And there might have been a bit of a break in the transmission.
There was.
So what happens is Ms. Nancy gives evidence before this commission about a conversation that she had with you, according to her evidence. And I just think it's appropriate, given that this is a matter that requires clarity. And in fairness to you, Ms. Myeni, I completely accept that we should be absolutely clear about it. If we go to bundle DD2 at page 21, at paragraph 70, this is in Ms. Nancy's affidavit. Ms. Myeni, you may want to get it in front of you. I see you've gone to do that.
Yes. Doing that. Thank you, Chair. I've got DD2, Pumeza Nancy.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair.
Yes, Ms. Hofmeyer, I believe I've got it too.
I have DD2, and I have Pumeza Nancy's statement.
Did you say page 21? Ms. Hofmeyer?
21, Chair, yes.
Page 21, okay.
Now, at paragraph 70 at the bottom of that page, just before it, there's a heading, vetting results of Ms. Lindsay Olitsky that were performed by State Security Agency. And I'm reading from paragraph 70 there of Ms. Nancy's affidavit. She says, Ms. Myeni told me that the SSA people are still in progress with vetting for top security clearance certificate, but they are done with some people. She added that one of my staff members failed the vetting due to dual citizenship. She didn't show me the results, only told me who it was. She stressed that the finance department is a very sensitive area. Therefore, I cannot afford to have someone who has failed the security clearance. She suggested that in the following day, I should have an off-site meeting with Ms. Lindsay and first update her about the vetting results and secondly give her two options, either to dismiss her or she could choose an alternative department to work with within SAA Group. I discussed this matter with the acting CEO the following day, raising my concerns about Ms. Myeni's instructions, as it may lead to SAA facing labor disputes, especially when the employees are able to prove that the SSA process was never part of their employment contract when they were appointed by SAA. We then agreed we will discuss this item at the next EXCO meeting, and the company needs to compile or derive a policy that will address this and the policy. I didn't arrange any meeting with Lindsay. Ms. Myeni called me the same day and asked how the meeting went between Lindsay and I. I gave her the update, and she, that's a reference to you as I understand it in the context, was not happy with it. Do you dispute Ms. Nancy's evidence on this issue?
I won't respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself.
Ms. Myeni, I'd like to move from the involvement of the State Security Agency, both in providing protection services to you and in conducting security vetting at SAA, to evidence that has been received in this commission by former Minister Nene and Minister Gordhan. So that those are the topics we're going to move to now.
Yes, Chairperson, I'm ready. Sorry, I was just moving this file. I'm ready.
Okay.
Now, Ms. Myeni, Minister Nene gave evidence before this commission about a meeting that he was called to in November 2015.
1 second, Mr.
Oh,
Mayor.
apologies.
I'm giving away this.
Yes, you can
file.
do so.
And DD24, can I give away?
Yes, you can.
Okay,
We've
all right.
completed our work within them. Thank you,
So we
Chair.
just remain with 34.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Now, Ms. Myeni, when former Minister Nene testified before this commission, he gave evidence about a meeting that was called in November 2015 with the former president and yourself. Are you aware of that evidence?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Now, his evidence was that that meeting was called after he had shared concerns about your leadership at SAA with colleagues at an ANC study group meeting. Were you present at that meeting?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Now, what Minister Nene said is after he'd communicated those concerns at the ANC study group meeting, he surmises that somebody told you. He doesn't have actual knowledge of that, but he surmises because the next thing that happens is he's called to a meeting with you and former President Zuma. I'd like to ask you some questions about that meeting. Can you confirm whether that meeting took place?
I do not have, I do not have a response, Chairperson. May I invoke the privilege of not responding to the question in case I incriminate myself?
Minister Nene said that during the course of the meeting, you complained to former President Zuma about him. Do you dispute that?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
Minister Nene said that during that meeting, he said to former President Zuma that you were obstructive and that you played the media. Do you dispute that he said that to President Zuma?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question? May I invoke the privilege so I don't incriminate myself?
He also said that at that meeting, he told former President Zuma that the board under your leadership had been acting recklessly. Do you dispute that he told that to former President Zuma?
May I not respond, Chairperson? I wouldn't want to incriminate myself.
Apologies. He also said that he communicated to former President Zuma at that meeting that you should be removed as chairperson of the board. Do you dispute that he said that?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
He said of that meeting that he also conveyed to former President Zuma that as a result of the crisis situation that was then present in SAA, remember we're in November of 2015, there was a serious threat that the airline would default on its government guaranteed obligations and that would have a ripple effect for the fiscus and the economy as a whole. Do you dispute that he said that to former President Zuma?
Chairperson, may I not respond in case I incriminate myself?
Minister Nene was quite clear in his evidence before this commission that he was concerned about your continuation on the board. But he has also given evidence in which he has indicated that any recommendation for a new board of SAA at that time that did not include you would not pass through cabinet because former President Zuma would not support it. Do you dispute his version on that score?
Chairperson, may I not respond to the question in case I incriminate myself?
Did you and former President Zuma ever discuss the views that Minister Nene conveyed to former President Zuma at that November 2015 meeting?
I beg your pardon?
Did you and former President Zuma ever discuss what Minister Nene had communicated at that November 2015 meeting?
May I not respond to the question? Chairperson, may I invoke my privilege that I was given by you not to incriminate myself. But Chair, please allow me to say something which will not invoke the privilege or maybe respond to the message.
What is that?
It's something, Chair, I would like to just state before you.
Yes.
I said something yesterday, Chair, and I would like to say it. I am guilty, Chairperson, by association of President Zuma. And it appears here there has been very glaring lines to everyone who chooses to make glaring, who chooses not to distinguish properly between the relationship, the professional relationship, and the relationship where a person presides over the Jacob Zuma Foundation. I've been guilty since I assumed office as the chairperson of the Jacob Zuma Foundation. I'm stating this, Chairperson, because a professional relationship and an ordinary relationship, those are two separate relationships. Therefore, I'm just saying this, Chair, because it does bother me. And the Chairperson did say, if something I feel strongly about, I must put it before the Chairperson. I'm still doing the same, Chair, because there has been a narrative that I cannot kill that suggests that being or working for a foundation meant that I would willy-nilly and anyhow discuss issues that are not relevant to the foundation anyway or anytime. And it is a lie that somebody can just use proximity to do certain things that are untoward and that are not professional, that also compromises the formal relationship that is written down, that talks to issues of working and operational matters of either the foundation or South African Airways. And Chair, lastly, may I put it on record that South African Airways was assigned to President Ramaphosa as a deputy president at the time who was responsible for government business. SOEs that were seen by cabinet to be problematic were all assigned under President Cyril Ramaphosa. But as you have seen, Chairperson, that all the time, whenever there is SAA matter and former chairperson's matter on SAA, I would be seen walking with the president who visited South African Airways in the media and paraded as President Jacob Zuma is the only one who visited SAA. President Ramaphosa, as deputy president, responsible for government business, visited South African Airways, but you will never see a picture of Duduzile Myeni with President Ramaphosa on any media. Yet I welcomed him and I walked him out as I did with President Zuma. And President Cyril Ramaphosa was happy when we met at SAA. And he really sang praises about the work we had done. That, I believe, that was a statement of confidence because I never worked for his foundation, nor did I have proximity because of the foundation-related work. I'm just putting it across to you, Chair, as something that is inside my spirit to share with you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, but I must just point out that the questions that Ms. Hofmeyer was putting to you were related to evidence that was placed before the Commission by Mr. Nene in regard to a meeting that he said he had with you and former President Zuma. That's where the questions emanated from. Okay, Ms. Hofmeyer.
Thank you, Chair. Just before your last interchange with the Chair, Ms. Myeni, I'd asked you whether you had discussed what Minister Nene had communicated at that meeting with former President Zuma afterwards. I understand you two have invoked your privilege to decline to answer. So I'd like to ask the next question. Ms. Myeni, in the face of that having been communicated to former President Zuma at the meeting with the then Finance Minister, can you assist the Commission in understanding how, if you did, you managed to persuade former President Zuma to retain you on the board, despite what Minister Nene said was reckless leadership that risked SAA defaulting on loans?
Chairperson, do you have does the Commission have the minutes of the meeting referred to?
I don't believe that there were minutes taken. This was not a minuted meeting. What is your answer to the question whether, on what basis you managed, if you did, to persuade former President Zuma to retain you on the board despite the Minister of Finance having said to him that he was worried that your reckless leadership would risk SAA defaulting on loans?
May I not respond to this question, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, former Minister Nene also linked his removal a month later in December 2015, amongst other things, to the views he'd expressed at that meeting about you to former President Zuma. Do you have any insight as to the reasons why former Minister Nene was removed in December 2015?
May I not respond, Chairperson, so that I don't incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, are you aware of what happened to the markets the morning after former Minister Nene was removed in December of 2015?
Which markets, ma'am?
Well, it was the impact really on the bond yields and the depreciation of the South African currency the next morning. Are you aware of those impacts?
Chairperson, I need to understand, not the rand-rigged markets related issues. I must get a bit of clarity because there was too much of the rigging of the rand during that time. And there was also a lot of other economic related issues that happened in many other places So I need to know what is specific about this particular question. That when Mr. Nene was removed, the markets performed badly?
Let me be
Or
clear. No, in fairness,
Was it the rigging of the rand? Was it the rigging of the rand, or was it the poor performance of general markets? I need to understand because I'm not a finance person.
Yes, Ms. Hofmeyer will respond.
this is, in fairness to you, Ms. Myeni, an issue that the Commission itself has grappled with. And the Commission, in fact, requested National Treasury to do a submission for it about this very thing. It has colloquially been called the impact of Nene Gate. And what the Commission received was an affidavit from the then Director General of National Treasury. And this is what is said in that affidavit: that the morning after the announcement of Minister Nene's removal, there was an increase in bond yields and a depreciation of the currency as investors repriced the risks associated with investing in South Africa. Were you aware that Minister Nene's removal had that impact?
Maybe just
May I not
mention
respond,
the name.
Chairperson, to this question so that I don't incriminate myself? The clarity was well received. Thank you.
Maybe you can just mention, Ms. Hofmeyer, the name of the former Director General who deposed to that affidavit.
Yes, that was Director General
record.
Madondo.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson.
And the other point that is made in that submission before the Commission is that the change in ministers, so the removal of Minister Nene and his replacement with Minister Van Rooyen, was increased the perceptions of risk that the South African government's commitment to fiscal sustainability was weakening. Were you aware of that impact of the removal of then Minister Nene?
May I not respond, Chairperson, in case I incriminate myself?
Ms. Myeni, Chair, I see that we are just before 1 o'clock and I'm about to move on, so it may be appropriate to take the break now.
Okay. Okay, let's take the lunch break. We'll resume at 2 o'clock. We adjourn.
Thank you very much, Chairperson.